I apologize. I accidentally hit stop instead of pause. So this will be part 2, and this will be the actual reading. I am using the Miss Cleo Tarot Power Deck, if you're interested. And these are just Rider-Waite Tarot cards. And so here we go. Let's get them shuffled, and I'm doing a Celtic Cross reading this time, and we'll see what comes up for 2024. What do we need to know? What do we generally need to know for 2024? Alright. Okay. So first of all, the present moment, we have the moon. Okay, which makes a lot of sense. The moon, as I mentioned, I call her grandmother moon. The moon is often the light in darkness. The moon is, it's very magical because it pushes us to face a lot of our shadows. And by shadows, I mean the parts of us that we don't necessarily want to recognize or see in a certain amount of time. This can be anything. It's almost like a mirror at times, and at other times it's more like a reflection rather than a mirror, but like a reflection that comes in. The moon is very important. Without the moon, we would be in total dark. That grandmother energy, or whatever you want to call it, it does influence things like the tides. It influences our emotions a lot because it is very watery. It has to do with the need to nurture and grow yourself. It reminds me a lot of the seeds. When you plant seeds in the dirt, it reminds me a lot of that. When the seed is in the dirt, but it is still growing, it's just going to be a little bit harder to kind of expand and push through that soil. And of course, if you choose not to, then you're not going to grow. So at the present moment, there are obviously a lot of people that just need to really take a look, or this year we really need to take a look at that shadow part of ourselves, at that part of things that we know are mistakes, that we count as mistakes, not what other people count as mistakes, that we know we need to grow and acknowledge our place in this world and what our purpose is. The thing that appears to be an obstacle to that for this year, we got the 5 of Cups. The number 5 is interesting to me because it's kind of like in the middle. It's like the in the middle time. And so anytime you're doing like a project or anything like that, you know that in the very middle of it, that it can be the hardest time because you have to continue to, you've already worked past the beginning and you're trying to continue to pursue this project, but you're not close to the ending yet. So in those times, sometimes we get a little bit, might be a little bit stagnant, because you're not really seeing the finish line in those times yet. If you were running a race, you know, as you're running the race, before you see the finish line, but after you've run for several hours or whatnot, then you start to get kind of tired. You kind of come to a wall, so to speak. And at those points, those are also the most important thing, the most important time to really reestablish our energy and push through and not give up, unless, of course, you choose to give up. So this is just saying that right now that is an obstacle to our shadow self. So a lot of us have been seeing, or a lot of us will see this year, our shadow self very clearly. It's going to be very obvious. It's very obvious right now, but at the same time we've been seeing that so long already that it's no longer the beginning of it, and it's not even close to the end of it, and therefore we may be feeling this like Five of Cups energy where it is hard to push through. And it is, again, the cups are water, that's very emotional. And as you can see on this card, there is a lot of stuff going on in the background as he's sitting here trying desperately to balance his cups, balance his emotions, really to focus and to change. At the same time, behind him is all this stuff going on behind him. The city is burning. And so he's trying to distract himself enough to get himself together and really get those cups back to balanced and serve himself up what he needs. But in order to do so, he also has to be somewhat ignorant to what is going on behind him, but at the same time what is going on still does affect him, and that's why this smoke is coming forward. So we shouldn't ignore problems, but there is so much going on that we can't fix anything unless we really are trying hard to balance those emotions, to keep pushing through, to keep running that race, and to not give up. And so because of this, that is causing somewhat of an interference with our moon magic and is sort of piling up. And so this is the obstacle to that. So what you can do, let's see. Okay. So from the Sun, which is the hope, we have the High Priestess. That's a number 2. This is one of the top cards in the deck. The High Priestess is the ending. So really focusing on how close you are to that ending. Sometimes we might give up on things right when we were so close. So just keeping in mind that no matter how far in the distance the ending looks to a problem, or how far in the distance a goal seems to becoming achieved, try to stay excited instead of fearful that you're going to fail. Try to get excited and keep in mind that when you do finish and complete a goal, if you do continue to follow through on it, you are going to be so happy, and you will look back on these moments where it seemed impossible, and you might even laugh at yourself because you will be like, why did I think that was so hard? So get rid of any type of worry or concern. This is just confirmation that if you are dealing with these things through the year, they are, connected with the universe. They are important. Don't lose sight of what you're aiming for, whatever that happens to be. It's coming. It's possible. You just have to keep that in mind and keep getting excited about it. Be grateful for the opportunity and not lose sight or faith in what you're aiming for. From Mother Earth, we have the Seven of Staffs. As you can see, this guy is kind of holding his staff, and he feel it again. It goes right back into that feeling of blockage. This is about him looking at what, kind of a competitive nature, feeling that there is things that are going again, that are preventing him from gaining his flow. And even though he's carrying a lot of passion in his staff, I didn't mean to be perverted, I promise. Even though he's carrying a lot of passion, he has a lot of passion about his purpose and desire to make it happen, mostly because he just wants to be content and wants to feel better. But because he's so focused on thinking that everybody else is feeling better, that everybody else has achieved things, whether he thinks that they've achieved them in a good or a negative way, whether he thinks some of perhaps people that he disagrees with, maybe he thinks they have succeeded. This is just saying, no, you haven't. Focus on the passion within yourself and find that flow. Don't trust in what you're seeing over here that other people are doing. Hold on to that passion. Don't get competitive. Just focus on the fact that you're in this position right now, and that's all that matters. This you can deal with later, if that makes sense. What in the past does this have to do with? What in the past does this have to do with? We have the King of Swords. Okay. Communication. So, what this is saying is just kind of a confirmation that a lot of destruction within the communication between people was pretty chaotic. And that is what happened in the past. We know that because even as much as a blessing as it is to have mass amount of communication opportunities for a lot of us, it is easier now to speak your truth and to really communicate with family or loved ones, communicate with other people, and to interact, for instance, online. But that increase of communication kind of has been getting chaotic, mixed up, very loud in the past years. And because of that, it built up to people going into that mood and that need to do that. So that is how this built up this way. In the possible future, we have the Three of Coins in reverse. So here's what it looks like right side up. So one thing we can aim for the future. Let me think a minute here. So right side up, this would be about people serving a certain entity or serving a certain type of energy. And this is going in reverse. What I feel that is saying is that, yes, a lot of us are tired of the way perhaps that things have been going. A lot of people want more diversity, inclusion. A lot of people want more, less one-person leadership type of situations and be their own person, but still be gathered together because we're all in this together. We gather together. We don't want to become too independently toxic because that builds nothing. It's important to be independent, yes, but at the same time, when many of us are, when there is a lot of equality, for instance, sometimes that ignores suffering. There really is no such thing as one perfect way, one perfect answer. Everybody's perfect answer or perfect idea of how they want to see their future is different, or everybody's perfect idea of what works for their life or their humanity or their world is always going to be different than somebody else's. And that's why When we say things like equality, even though it is important that everybody gets treated fairly and equally, at the same time, we also have to consider things such as, maybe you say, well, if everybody would just eat right and exercise and be strong, then we wouldn't have these problems. What that does is devalue the people who were born with certain things that they had no choice about, such as maybe they were born with a hearing impairment. And when we say equality, we say, oh, well, everybody has the same advantages in life, and then you discount the people that are hearing impaired, and you don't pay attention to their needs, perhaps. That is an instance where equality does not provide the same instance for everyone, and there is no such thing as the same instance that works for everyone. This is where things like democracy, even though I believe in democracy, doesn't always work. For instance, when my sister was little, she has a certain type of scalp, and on her scalp, she would get little bits. There weren't dandruff, but she just has a different scalp than most of the other kids in her class do. So when headlights broke out in school, it would appear to the people that would examine the kids' heads to make sure they didn't have lice weren't aware of the differences between her scalp and the majority that they had seen, so they kept trying to accuse her of having head lice when it wasn't head lice eggs, which it wasn't. It was just part of her scalp that was getting progressively drier because she kept having to do this lice treatment when it wasn't necessary. And they really, so that is an instance where they were really trying to treat all the kids equally and trying to prevent this head lice from spreading, but in doing so, they were ignoring the individual instances, that not everybody is the same, that everybody has differences. And also, when it comes to things like that, we also as humans can't be expected to know everything either. Like, just because you are very good at language, for instance, you can't possibly know every single language in the earth. There are hundreds of them, at least. Or every single variation of language on earth. And so you can't say, oh, well, I am a master of languages, and so I'm going to require everyone to talk this way, so that we have a universal language that is equal for everybody so we can all communicate. You can't do that because you are discrediting the languages that you don't know, and you also can't be expected to know every language. Our brain's only so big. So I hope that makes sense, because what this is saying is people are desiring for not just simple equality, we're desiring that diversity, and in diversity comes growth. And that is the absolute truth. You can't say that weeds are absolutely unnecessary. There are times when we need weeds. They help the environment thrive. There are times when we need fires. Sometimes we need fires to burn certain things and start over. Sometimes we need the volcano to explode in order to reset. Do I like that? No. But it's the reality. That's how life is. It does not, there is no one way is the only way thing. So how is everyone as a collective going to see all of this year? We have the Five of Swords in reverse. So again, the swords are about communication. Sometimes words can have a sting. And with this particular card, many times I have seen when I pull it in upward position, every time I have seen this card, I've seen where people, it generally means people are going to be arguing, fighting, trying to go off on their own separate ways. But because it's in reverse, this gives me hope. Fool's hope, maybe. But here is what the hope is. That most people are going to see all of this occurring as a form of hope. And because they're seeing it that way, that could be a really good thing. Because it might increase the energy that we really, really desperately need to try to talk to each other despite our differences. To try not to run and be passive aggressive or just no contact. I agree with no contact in some instances, but I do think everybody deep down wants connection with each other in some way, whether it's small groups or as a world. I really do think everybody is seeing all of this conflict and fighting, and therefore they're going to be looking at this with some form of hope that we can still get it together. How will we individually see ourselves? We have the Seven of Swords. So really we kind of see ourselves having to working at active communication. Picking up tools, gathering, organizing. This is how we're going to see ourselves this year, what we're going to see ourselves doing, and hoping that we're all going to be seeing it help the fire die down. How does this all relate? We have the Queen of Coins in reverse. So when it comes to abundance, seeing this all work together, there has to be a change in order for this all to work together, there has to be a change in the mindset or attitude when it comes to abundance. A lot of us have been taught to deal with money or personal items, investments, things of value in a certain way. But the truth is that there really, really, really is enough abundance for everyone on the earth as far as basic needs go. And in order for all of this work to work together, this is just saying that if we really take a look at our moon self, our shadows, how we view abundance, not just excessive things, but basic needs such as water, shelter, clothing. If we really kind of try to turn that upside down and change our view of it, instead of being like, oh, I want to be successful, I'm going to work hard and save a lot of money, la da da da. Instead of thinking of it that way, trying to perhaps think of it more in the terms of working together, working for each other to put out that fire, working with each other, facing our shadow selves, finding balance. Because how our energy spreads, it's important how we are presently in our energy affects and influences everyone else, including the earth, whether we want it to or not. Like, I'm a Cancer, sometimes I like to hide. I'd rather hide and everybody just leave me alone and have my time alone, but the reality is that even when you hide, it affects other people. Everything you do and don't do affects other people. When you're sleeping, your dreams can affect other people. Your missing in action moment because you're sleeping and resting affects other people. So that's what this is all saying together. Now, the main hope for the future. What is the possible outcome? And we have the Two of Coins. This is a very positive thing when it comes to abundance, but two, lots of partnerships, lots of like a nice day, and this also everything that occurs as a result of this, if this does become the possible outcome, is a good flow, high seas, infinite things that will carry on. Lots of two sides coming together, balancing together, working together instead of opposing each other, right? That would be a great outcome, and this is the possible future for 2024, so let's hope it's true. So we have those. Now very quickly, I'm just going to grab my Silver Witch's Oracle deck. This is from Midnight Oracle, if you're interested in the decks. So what are some of the tools that we can use to get through this year? Third eye, intuition, clarity, and visions. So pay very much attention. Now there are all kinds of stuff out there that you can hear about the third eye. The bottom line is that this is about your intuitive self, your inner thoughts, your relation to what energy you feel. Like when it's about to snow or rain, sometimes you can feel in the air, you can feel that like heaviness before it rains if you're really being mindful and paying attention to it. If you're not, you might be out there swimming and not realize, oh, there's a storm right over there. So this is just saying, like, use your intuition self, not just your heart and your mind, but your intuition self. So pay more attention to the dreams, the things going on around you, how your body feels, your health. That's one tool. I'm going to do two more. The Besom, fertility, clearing, and renewal. So yes, clearing out all of the dust. Sweep it on out of there. I read a meme the other day that really helped me get through some of the holidays about letting go. When we let go, when we think about it as if we're getting something taken away, or thinking about it as if it's a negative thing, like, oh, you just have to let that go. Why can't you let that go? Then it's going to be difficult to let it go, because everything has already become a part of us no matter what. We can't just erase things that are happening. But when you think of letting go more in a form of accepting, so I accept that this has happened, whatever it is. I accept that something has occurred that I didn't like, or I'm accepting that something has changed and I perhaps don't want to deal with the change. I want the old way back. That's what letting go is about, accepting it and then keep moving forward. And so when we talk about the besom, we want to sweep out, let go. Nobody wants to hold on to the old dust. You might want to dust your beautiful crystals or things like that. You're going to dust the dirt off them, but you're letting go of the gunk that's on them, not the actual crystal or item. You're letting go of the dust that's on it. You're clearing out yourself. So a lot of heavy breathing, a lot of cleaning, organizing, a lot of mental clarity. Sweep through yourself and let that stuff be swept away. And we have Pinecone, third eye, third eye comes up again, potential and starting. So with the pine cone, a lot of times this is about protection. The pine cone is unique because it is technically a seed, but it's got all those little hard things around it because that all helps protect the seed from any bugs or blowing away in the wind or anything like that. So the pine cone is just telling us that make sure that as you're growing, as you're nurturing, as you're clearing, be careful. Make sure you're doing it in a protective, preventative way, that you're constantly moving forward. Don't let anything like break you down and eat you apart, if that makes sense. And finally, the chakras. What is the chakra message for this year? Oops. All right. We have abundance comes up again, number 36, and that's a 9, which is also the same as the High Priestess. I am grateful for the abundance nature and the universe provide. I am grateful for the abundance nature and the universe provide in my life. And it's in the yellow, which is the solar plexus, which is one of our main belts. So really, really thinking about your soul connection, your soul self, that thing that belts you, holds you together. Really thinking about that. And then you can see, it's a beautiful picture. She's just embracing the water, kind of playing around with it, thinking about how she can use it, letting it flow through her hair, and embracing all of the abundance that comes in from that. Okay? And how it connects from, Soul Star connects from your star above the moon all the way to the center and all the way down through the earth. So that is the chakra you can use this year. Anyway, that is the end of the reading. I hope it helps you in some way. Let me know in the comments if there's any questions you have, or if you would like me to answer any questions about myself, or if you would like me to do any future readings that you think will help, or if you'd like me to just talk about whatever you would like, or perhaps you have criticisms, and those, thank you for them. I'll take the constructive criticism into consideration, and I hope you feel happy, safe, loved. I wish you the best this year, and I hope you have many more, and I look forward to working with you or separately from you. Much love. Take care.